Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be looking at OBS, more particularly how to set up a two microphone audio setup and record that through OBS. Now, OBS stands for Open Broadcaster Software, which allows you to screen record, you can stream videos, you can record audio. Now, it's very popular amongst the gaming crowd. They use it to live stream video games onto Twitch. But in the more academical sense, we're going to be looking at it to record either our screens or, in my case, a video podcast. Now, to download the software itself, first you'll need to navigate to the software center. So we're going to navigate down to the bottom left side of our desktop to the little magnifying glass, select the magnifying glass and type in Software Center. On here, you'll see all of the applications you're able to download onto your desktop. What I'm going to do here is locate OBS Studio, select that and install that. Now, please note you might have to be on the university grounds to access the Wi-Fi to download OBS onto your device. However, once it is open, yet again, navigate to the magnifying glass in the bottom left, type in OBS, or in my case, it's in my Recents app, and open it up. Now, you might see a few windows the first time you log into OBS. Please don't worry, this system can get very complicated. However, for what we're doing today, it is quite simple. So you'll see a big box that appears at the top of your screen. This is the actual screen recording itself. Now, for an audio sense, we're not going to be looking at that today. However, if you do want to add a desktop in, all you need to navigate down to is our sources panel here. You'll see a little plus icon, select the plus, and then select display capture. Or you've got a number of other options you can do too. The window capture will allow you to capture singular applications as well. So let's say I had Google Chrome open and I want to share Google Chrome. All I need to do is select the Windows capture and then go through the settings on there. However, that is touching outside of podcasting today. So let's move back. There are two primarily places you'll want to go to when doing audio podcasts. The first one you might see now is actually the audio mixer, where we've got a few lines moving across. This allows us to see all of the microphones connected to the device, and then we can see how their input sensitivity is and how my voice is being displayed in a numerical value. Desktop audio is enabled by default, and as it states, it will record your desktop audio. So if I now turn on YouTube, that audio bar will move. Underneath it, you see I have two secondary options for microphones, which are also enabled. And as I talk, you can see the bars moving to represent the microphone being enabled. So, how do I turn my microphones on? The first thing you want to do is actually navigate past scene transitions and into the controls panel. Scroll down to settings, select settings, and from here, you'll see there are a wider range of settings that you can enable. You'll want to press into the audio tab, and from here, for audio junkies, you will see there are a number of different options you can select. However, I'm not an audio expert myself, so the only thing that I'm really concerned about is looking at my global audio devices. From here, I can enable or disable microphones that are connected to my device. By default, desktop audio is enabled, but if I go down to my mic/auxiliary audio, I can enable different microphones or disable them. So what I tend to do is have microphone 1 enabled, and in this case, I also have microphone 3 enabled. However, if I use the little drop down box, I can disable, I can default, but I can also select a different microphone too. So all I've done there is had microphone 1 selected as my microphone array and my microphone 2 selected to external microphone. All I need to do then is navigate down to the bottom, select apply, select OK, and then look at my audio mixer to make sure these microphones are working. You can tell if they're working if the little bars indicating is moving as I talk. You can also do this by tapping on different microphones too, which is a way I would recommend. If you have two microphones set up, tap one of the microphones so you know which channel it's enabled to. Now, the bars moving themselves are not just to show me that I'm talking, but it's also a nice way to see how loud my voice is. Now, I would recommend always having the microphone sit between -25 and -10. The reason that this is because the green bar indicates how quiet the microphone is picking up your voice. While if I talk slightly louder, as you can see, the red bar then peaks. The reason that is an issue is because if the microphone is too loud, then it can't collect all of the sounds that you're making and put it into data. Where if it's too quiet, it can't then make it louder due to the loss of data. If we keep it in the orange zone the best we can, is a good representation of how my voice actually sounds, followed by if I need to edit it, I do have that flexibility either to make it quieter or to make it louder. I'll more than likely recommend using about -20 and aiming for that. But obviously, there's going to be a lot of factors that play into your microphone quality. Sort of how close is your microphone to your mouth? How is the room? Is there a lot of echo? Is there a lot of outside noise? Is there a lot of inside noise? So these are all things you need to consider. However, you don't have to worry too much about trying to keep it in the yellow zone, because if you see underneath our little green bar here, we have a blue line with a little speaker icon. If I select this speaker icon, it mutes my microphone. So now it's turned grey. This microphone isn't enabled at all. Turning it back on, we can see the colors are back. And now if I hit record, it will record that. But more importantly, this blue bar here allows me to control how loud or quiet the system's going to record my voice. So if I have it all the way down here, the microphone can't pick anything up. Bring it up very slightly, you can see my voice is getting a little bit louder, 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 and now we turn it all the way and it's now reaching the red zone. Now remember, green is too quiet, red is too loud, so we want to balance this down and basically have it sit into the amber zone. I'm going to turn mine to about, let's say, -7. That number's fine. We'll have it on -6, and as you can see, whenever I talk, generally my voice stays in the red zone. Now, you'll want to do this for both participants, so I'd recommend passing your microphone or having it sit on the other side of the table, allowing the additional person to talk through the microphone because everyone's voice is different, and then adjusting that setting depending on what you need and making sure it sits in that amber zone. All I need to do then, once both microphones have been set up, is simply press start record in my controls panel, complete my podcast, come back here, press stop record, and that will save that into my file explorer underneath the videos tab. Now you can always check where OBS is recording to by simply returning back to the settings in the control panel, selecting output, and then from here recording, and you'll see your recording path in here. Now, what if you're using two of the same microphone? At TileHub, we have two 80-20-20 microphones, and when we enable that into our device, both of the microphones show up as 80-20-20, and there's no way to differentiate between the microphones. So we can enable both microphones on the channel, but without physically testing the microphone to make sure we know which one's what, there's no way to identify that. However, there is. And the way to do that is first to locate our sound control center on our Windows device. Now, please note this will change depending on if you're on an Apple device, so find your sound center or the equivalent to. I'm on a Windows device, so I'll do this on my Windows PC. All I do is navigate to the bottom right where I've got my sound and my time and date. If your sound option appears here, you can right click and open the sound settings. If the little volume doesn't pop up at the bottom, you can press the show hidden icons and it should pop up in here. For me, mine's enabled along the bottom. So what I'm going to do is right click on my headphones, open sound settings. And from here, I can see what my computer defaults to whenever a microphone's enabled. However, if I've got two or three microphones on my laptop, which is generally the case, if I record a podcast, I'll have two external mics and then my built-in microphone in my laptop. What I want to do is navigate to the control panel on the right. So you can see we've got control panel, select that. And from here, we can see all of the devices that are enabled on our laptop. What I want to do then is select the recordings tab as this is where all of my microphones will appear, and I'll have two AT2020 microphones enabled here. I don't have one on here today, but the process will be the exact same. All I simply need to do is navigate to one of these, right click, scroll down to properties, and then from here in the general tab, I can change that microphone name. Yet again, hit apply, hit OK, and when we come back to OBS, all we need to do is select the three dots button, navigate to properties, then with the drop down, select the microphone. So what I recommend doing is have one microphone called AT2022 and one called AT2021. Now, obviously, you can change the microphone's name to whatever is easier. Maybe you want to name them after your pets. Maybe you want to name them something else. It only applies to your device, but it's a very nice way to see which microphone you're connecting to which channel for when you record. I always want to say one last piece of advice is to always test your microphone so you know which one's which. And the best way to do this is to go quiet in your room and tap one of the microphones. So if I tap my headphones, hopefully this comes through. As you can see, my mic 2 is my microphone mic, where my mic 1 is my laptop microphone. And that's a really easy way to determine which microphone is which microphone, and then you can enable that in the audio mixer.